silver will never go down to zero. That's a known fact. I mean, you can take that one absolutely. It will never go down to zero. It's virtually a guarantee. You're saying that unemployment could rise to over 30%. Commercial and industrial real estate have 20 to 30% downsize left, depending on the market. Soon to region, and 25%, soon to be 50% of the mortgages are underwater. 50% will be in negative equity within a year. Over the next 3 years, 3,200 to 4,200 banks will go under, and the Fed will create 23 to 60 trillion to bail it out. We have 1.3 quadrillion in derivatives to be settled. That's a time bomb waiting to go off. And banks are leveraged 5 times deposits. 1 in every 357 U.S. households with homes got a foreclosure filing just in the month of August. Where are the green shoots that they're looking at? They're saying we've turned the corner and the recession is over. By they, I'm talking about the president, the pundits. A lot of people are saying the recession's over. I'm looking at it, we're not even halfway through this. You've got a couple of very intelligent people. The one man I listened to on Bloomberg, Stiglitz, we've got an extended weak economy. We're in an economic malaise. You've got the former head of the Federal Reserve, Paul Volcker, who's being honest. He's saying the same thing that Stiglitz is saying. What is this? We are really in a super bad situation, and in a situation that could be revolutionary. Your comments?
Well, all of those things, of course, are true, and I wrote them. And I have been right about 98% of the time for the last 10 years. The publication's been in existence for 20 years. But I think we should cut to the chase. So where is this all going? Since the beginning of the year, we've seen a decided fall first in the money and credit, which is called M4 in Europe by the European Central Bank and others, down from over 12% down to about 5%. That's down to almost normal, which would be 3.5% to 4% in the creation of money and credit. And now we see the United States doing the same thing by the Federal Reserve, and that figure is 4.7%. Now, there are other figures that show what they are doing differently, and they are still running money and credit into the economy, but it's not showing up in what used to be N3, and that's happened before. This is nothing new. And what usually happens is the figures are masked by statistics, and what happens is that the masking becomes obvious later, and what happens in the interim is usually inflation. But we're led to believe that the Fed is cutting back, and it's not. And the reason they're playing that little game is that the Chinese are very upset about the condition of the dollar and the outcome for the dollar, and they've been selling the dollar. And they've been selling it quite strongly since the beginning of the year, averaging about $60 billion a month. The figures did show that just came out from the Federal Reserve that China and Japan both purportedly, and I have to look into those figures, they were buyers of treasuries. I find it hard to believe, but anyway, they may have been. And so where we're headed here is, I think, in two directions. Europe is saying, look, we got to stop this quantitative easing. It's got to end somewhere. And the UK and US interests are saying, no, we don't want to do that behind the scenes. And the reason why is, if we start doing that, the whole bottom's going to fall out of this thing. And Europe figures, well, we're in a better position than you are, so it's okay for us, but, the heck with you. And so there's a lot of turmoil going on. And one of the things that is true is that banks have cut back their lending substantially, particularly over the last 3 months. And if they continue that will cause a real problem that could be uncontrollable. And that includes Europe as well as the United States. And so the central banks are taking a big chance here by cutting back on money and credit in Europe. And I assume their figures are somewhat correct. And also the curtailment of bank lending both in Europe and the United States. The Chinese have demanded this. This is why it's happening. At the same time, you look at the gold market, and the gold market saying, look, all the currencies are questionable. We want out of here. So the price of gold and silver are going up. And I think they'll continue to do so.
That seems to be the logical course to follow. One thing that you mentioned and you really stress this in the International Forecaster, and this is a reason to subscribe because of tidbits like this, and you made this very emphatic. Money market mutual funds assets no longer guaranteed. You said this is critical. Savings and checking accounts, you want to keep a minimum in there and invest in gold and silver because with the no insurance. Now, what exactly is that going to mean for us? Because if you've got money in checking or savings, that doesn't matter about mutual fund assets, does it?
Well, there's two separate things, and I'll go to the mutual funds, the money market funds first. Tomorrow is the 18th, and the 18th is the day that the United States government will no longer guarantee the money that has been deposited with money market funds. And already the Sharpies are moving their money out, and they're going to usually sovereign instruments such as treasuries, bonds put out by countries like Canada and Switzerland. And I expect that exodus to continue. The public's not going to know it. They probably won't even read that they don't have any guarantees by the government anymore. Switching over to the FDIC and deposit accounts. The FDIC doesn't have any money. The money that they had was collected from banks. The banks just can't contribute like that anymore because their balance sheets are so bad. If they continue to do it, they'll probably go under. And so they have requested the U.S. government give them a line of $500 billion. And they've been told by the Treasury Department that they will receive $100 billion line of credit. And that's supposed to fix the problem of banks going under. Well, I get news for you. If all the accounts that are insured under $250,000 were all to go under at the same time, and I don't believe that's going to happen, and I'll tell you why in a minute, they would need $700 billion just to cover 1% of the deposits.
1% more when we get back with Robert Chapman, the International Forecaster.